Here's what I don't understand about AI generated music. Everybody keeps telling us it's just another tool, the future, adapt or get left behind. Okay, cool. Then why is everybody so hesitant to admit that they're using it? I think we've been having the wrong discussion this whole time. I don't think it should be whether or not AI belongs in music. I think the better question is, can you still tell me who actually made the music? Look what's happened in these last few months. Tyga's Starface, Fenix Flexin's Rubberz. Even Timbaland, the man who partnered with an AI company, caught heat for not using AI, but over whose work went into Baby Timbo. In each case, the conversation became less about AI itself and more about who or what made the thing that we're hearing. Y'all know I usually stay out the news cycle, but this isn't about right now. This is about something that hip-hop has cared about since day one. Authorship. The MC, the producer, the pen. Knowing who actually made the thing. Let's get into it. Meet me on the other side.
I am Broadway, the lyricist, homie, just let me do my thing.
Let's start with one of the more recent examples. Tyga released Starface, a concept record built around an early 80s alter ego, synth pop, disco, with this whole Scarface-inspired world. And Pitchfork absolutely destroyed it. They gave it a 0 out of 0. Not a 1, not a 0.1. I'm talking about a flat 0. The critic called it a slop pop concept album that was smug and complacent and depressing. And then he delivered the death blow. Quote, "Its very existence has made the world a worse place."
Damn!
But here's the thing. The review isn't what really interests me. The timeline does. People have been speculating about AI involvement in the album before Tyga publicly acknowledged using it. Eventually, he confirmed AI was part of the process, while also making it clear that the lyrics were his and those were his vocals. And his defense was basically, it's a tool, this is where technology's going. And you know what? That might be true. But then I have a question. If AI is just a tool, why does everybody suddenly get very specific about exactly what the AI did once people start asking questions? Oh, it didn't write this. Those are my vocals. It only did this part. I'm not even saying that's wrong. I'm asking why the distinction suddenly matters so much if the distinction supposedly doesn't matter at all. That's where this conversation gets interesting. And Tyga's actually the softer example, because this next one gets a lot messier. So Fenix Flexin drops Rubberz, and this record sounds nothing like what people expected from him. We're talking 80s synth pop, he's singing, British accent, whole different world. And people actually like the record. It starts taking off, and then people start asking, wait, is this AI? And Fenix's initial response wasn't some complicated explanation. He just said, nope, no AI on it. He said he freestyled it. Auto-tune, fake accent, that's it. Then producer Medicine starts publicly breaking the record down and arguing that AI was involved in its creation. Eventually, Fenix's explanation changes. Now we're hearing, never said I ain't use AI, keep up with the times or get left behind. Hold up. First is no AI on it to never said I didn't use AI. Okay, so now we're arguing semantics. And this is where the story gets so much bigger than Fenix Flexin. Because I want you to really think about something. If you heard Rubberz before any of this came out and you liked it, what changed? The record didn't change. Same song, same melody, same sound coming through your speakers. You changed. All you learned was something about how the record was made. And if that information changes your relationship with the music, then apparently authorship matters more than we're pretending it does. That's what fascinates me about this. Because now we're not even arguing about whether the music sounds good anymore. We're arguing about whether knowing who or what created it changes its value. And that brings me to Timbaland. Because this is where who made it becomes who did it belong to. Timbaland is one of the greatest producers to ever touch a board. Unlike these other examples, Timbaland never hid his interest in AI. Quite the opposite. He partnered with Suno, he launched Stage Zero. He's been publicly championing AI as part of the future of music. So the controversy surrounding Baby Timbo wasn't really, did Timbaland use AI? Of course he did. That was the point. The controversy became, what did he put into it? Independent producer K Fresh accused Timbaland of using his beat as part of the AI process without permission. And here's the crazy part. The resulting music reportedly still contained K Fresh's producer tag. His signature was still sitting there. K Fresh and his attorney publicly challenged it. Timbaland apologized and explained that he believed the person who sent him the music owned it. And I think that's an important distinction. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that Timbaland knowingly tried to steal somebody's beat. We don't know that. But the situation exposes a much bigger problem, because underneath this entire AI music conversation is an unresolved question. What music was used to teach these systems how to make music in the first place? Who authorized it? Who gets credited? Who gets compensation? And when pieces of human creativity become ingredients in something generated by a machine, where does the original artist end and the AI creation begin? That's not just a Timbaland question. That's the question hanging over this entire technology. And now look at these three situations together. Tyga, how much AI? Fenix, was it AI at all? Timbaland, whose work was being used? Three completely different conversations, but they all land in the same place. Authorship. And that's why I keep coming back to those four words. It's just a tool. Maybe it is, because AI isn't going anywhere. It's already entering production software, mixing, mastering, editing, and eventually artists might use AI without even thinking twice about it. Hip hop has been through this before. Sampling, drum machines, auto-tune, digital recording. Every generation has had technology that somebody claimed was going to destroy real music. And hip hop itself exists partly because people took technology and used it in ways nobody originally intended. So I'm not interested in becoming the old man screaming, AI isn't real music. It's too easy. And I don't even know if I believe that. What really interests me is the contradiction. If AI is nothing more than a tool, why do we keep getting these extremely careful explanations after people discover it? Why does the percentage matter? Why does the process matter? Why does the source material matter? Maybe the answer's simple. Because the audience still cares who made the music. Whether these artists intended to prove that point or not, their controversies did. And let me give the other side its due, because it's not a weak argument. If Rubberz sounds good, maybe that's enough. Maybe 20 years from now, nobody cares whether a synthesizer was played by a musician or programmed by a producer or generated by AI. And let's be honest, music authorship was already messy before AI showed up. Ghostwriters, uncredited producers, interpolation, sample packs, session musicians. Hip-hop built an entire art form around taking pieces of existing records and turning them into something new. So maybe AI is simply forcing us to confront something that has always been complicated. But there's still one difference I can't completely get past. There's usually a human being somewhere in that chain. A person had an idea, a person made a choice, a person experienced something, and another person connected with it. How much of that can you remove before we're no longer having the same relationship with music? I don't know. And that's the part I think we're about to find out. So forget whether you're pro-AI or anti-AI for a second. I think that's the boring argument. Here's the question I actually want answered. How much AI has to be involved before you believe an artist owes you disclosure? AI mastering? Probably nobody cares. AI generated instruments? AI generated beat? AI written lyrics? AI vocals? At what point do you say, nah, you didn't make that? Or maybe you don't care at all. Maybe if it sounds good, it is good. I genuinely want to know where people draw the line. Because judging by what we're watching happen right now, the technology is moving faster than we figured out the answer. But now, I want to hear from you. Where do you draw the line in terms of AI and music? Drop your answer below, and don't just tell me AI is trash or get with the times, because I think that conversation is much more nuanced than that. If this made you think, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click that bell icon so you get notified when I upload new content. And if you want to see more videos just like this, be sure to click here to see more. I'm Broadway the Lyricist, and these are the hip-hop conversations we should be having. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate y'all. Peace.